As sports history fans, we often reminisce about the legends. Willis Reed limping on to the NBA Finals court, Curt Schilling's bloody sock, Kerry Strug's courageous dismount, and so many more. These moments often define sports history. But what about the countless injuries that did not become legends, or careers that were derailed due to inadequate care? That's where this episode's sponsor comes in. Introducing to you, ILP Sports Consultants, your trusted sports injury partner, available 24/7. Brian Maelli at ILP Sports Consultants has over 20 years of experience in the orthopedic and sports medicine industry, and he has worked with athletes across the gamut, from youth to amateurs, professionals, in almost every sport played in the United States of America, accommodating athletes at every stage of their career. This adaptability ensures that ILP services are perfectly tailored to your skill level, no matter where you are in your athletic journey. With ILP, you are in control. Choose the steps that matter most to you. Diagnosis, treatment plan, recovery, or the whole journey. ILP services are tailored to your unique needs. Rushing for care is a common pitfall, leading to future problems. ILP Sports Consultants helps you make the right decisions, ensuring that you receive timely and safe care. And here's the bonus. Brian hosts the Injured List podcast, sharing insights and athlete stories you won't want to miss. Whether you're a concerned parent or grandparent, or an athlete yourself seeking guidance, ILP Sports Consultants is your beacon of hope in sports injury management. Visit ilpsports.com today. That's the letters ilpsports.com. ILP Sports Consultants, where your well-being is the priority and your recovery is the mission. Choose ILP Sports Consultants for a healthier sports journey, helping you get back in the game the smart way.
Blog Talk Radio.
Tonight we'll go back in time to seasons past, when 22 men graced the rugged fields of yesterday, fighting for one more first down, one more yard gain, one final score, which would bring victory after 60 minutes of battle on the gridiron. Tonight we'll explore the world of Gridiron Greats. Welcome to Gridiron Greats Football History and its Memorabilia on the Gridiron Greats Publishing and Broadcasting Network, in conjunction with Swick Enterprises. And we're live from the Wallingford, Connecticut home of Gridiron Greats Magazine. I'm Bob Swick, publisher and editor of Gridiron Greats Magazine, and I'll be your host for the show. Gridiron Greats Magazine is the only publication in America which focuses upon the history and memorabilia of the North American football game since its inception in 1869. We cover 150-plus years of football history and memorabilia, and you can find us on the web at GridironGreatsMagazine.com. It's at this time I'd like to introduce my co-host. He's a senior contributing writer to Gridiron Greats Magazine, a football memorabilia historian specializing in pre-World War II items, in particular Red Grange, and also Seattle Seahawk items, in particular Steve Larkin. He hails from Portland, Oregon, Mr. Joe Squires. Joe, welcome to the show this evening.
Captain, so good to be back, sir. Love it. Got my Gridiron Greats in the mail, so it's always a good day to see Swick Enterprises on the upper left of an envelope.
And we got quite a few compliments on this issue, especially the front cover, which
fantastic.
showed the recent podcast guest that we had, John Sanchez, and his collection of McFarlane's were truly incredible. Truly incredible to see. Amazing pieces of work and artwork, and it's just an incredible collection that he has.
But I'm curious how you picked, how you came to come on that example of his McFarlane's for the front cover. There were a couple others I really liked. One of Don Hudson. There were several that we talked about.
Well, Jared, Brenda, and I basically talked about it, looking at some of the stuff that he had, and then I normally hand off to Jared, and he coordinates with the whoever we're dealing with as far as their collection on the front cover. And for impact, looking at that cover, to me, it's just so striking to see it. I mean, it's
stunning.
Just, it epitomizes football to me. What football really is. Guys at one time who had to heat themselves with an oil can burning wood or whatever, paper, to see the blood on the towels, to see the snow, just to see the elements. The elements of that picture are just phenomenal to me. And it represents the game the way it used to be and the way it should be played. But
absolutely right.
I just saw it when Jared came back with it, and I knew right away that was it. And it was one of our few covers we had no type on it other than the masthead. Yeah. So it was. Yeah.
And it was. It made my final top 5 favorites when we were talking. And like you said, it's stunning. It's good. I was just more the process, not questioning. Jared and you and Brenda. It was just more the process of how that's decided. So it's pretty interesting. I'm sure a lot of listeners, a lot of readers, don't know what goes behind the scenes, and at the compound in Wallingford, how to, what it takes to put a magazine like that together.
Yeah, it's a lot of really thinking about before we actually start presenting it and the layout of it at the same time. So Brenda and I normally will just, we'll rough it out. We'll talk about it, and she makes her suggestions. I make mine, and then Jared's involved with it at the same time, also trying to see, what we really want in the cover. I've driven him crazy sometimes. No lie, he's done 5-6 revisions on covers to see until we finally got something that we, I really thought it would be good. And this one was first one out, spot on. We all said we loved it, and that was it. So it was very good, very good. Well, last time we had our show, which was the beginning of March, middle of March, we were talking about an incredible Tom Brady rookie card that was in Leland's auction, the 2000 Playoff Contenders Champion Rookie Ticket Card, number 144, graded by Beckett at an 8.5, autograph copy, 99 of 100 made. The card sold for $2,252,855. An incredible price for a football card. Joe, your comments and thoughts.
You about summed it up there, Captain, but I'm about to blow your mind. As you mentioned, spring of 2021, Leland sold the 2000 Playoff Contender Brady Championship Rookie Card. Like you said, stunning $2,252,000, and let's just round it up, $2,253,000 for a football card. Not by a little, but by a lot. If I had to ask you right now, what is the most expensive football card, and you didn't know about this Brady card, what would you say?
Good question. I would have to probably say a 35 Chickle Nag, or maybe a Spalding card. I don't know. I really don't know.
If the 35 Chickle Bronco Nagurski, there's one of them in a PSA 9. If that came up for auction right now, what would it go for? And also recognize that about a year and a half, 2 years ago, a PSA, the sole PSA 8.5 came up, and it sold for about $170,000. That was, pretty big sports rush. So what would would the Chickle 9 go for right now, do you think, Captain?
I would have to say
Nagurski.
$500,000
okay.
Easy. $500,000 easy.
I would agree. 2 years ago, it probably would have been $350,000, $400,000. What if a 65 tops Joe Namath PSA 10 came to the hobby and came up for sale? What do you think that would go for?
That should be close to $1 million, in my opinion.
Okay. Pretty close. Yep, I would agree. So if you think about our iconic football cards, the Nagurski 9, the Namath, or the Bronco 35 Chickle Nagurski, the 65 Namath, the 77 Largent, I mean, all iconic cards. And yes, I slipped my Largent card in there. None of them. I mean, the Namath 10, which doesn't exist, I think there's 3 Namath 9s, would fetch $1 million. I mean, it's maybe a 33 Sports King, Thorpe 10. I mean, there's nothing. So, I mean, then there's this chasm between Nagurski 9, a one-of-a-kind, 90-year-old card, and a card that's 20 years old that there are 100 of that's out there. So, for the and just to clarify for you, there are 2 types of Brady 2000 playoff contenders rookie cards. There's the standard 2000 playoff contender rookie ticket, which is kind of this goldish ticket. It looks a little golden. And then there's the 2000 playoff contenders championship rookie ticket. And the difference between them is the championship one is silver in color and has the word championship written on it. The other one does not. There's about 100 of those made. At $2.253 million. Ones? Correct.
Okay. All right.
So
all right.
The first ones are just called the rookie ticket, and the other ones are called the champion rookie tickets. There's about 1,000 rookie tickets, and there's about 100 championship rookie tickets. So the championship rookie ticket that sold in Leland's for $2.253 million was 8.5 Beckett autograph 9. There is currently in Heritage a 2000 playoff contenders championship rookie ticket that is a 8.5 by Beckett and a 10 autograph, a pristine autograph. And this is before Tom Brady really had a good autograph. He had to sit down and write down 100 autographs. If he had to autograph 100 things, it'd get a little sloppy. I can't tell this is Tom Brady's rookie card, so how the hell do you tell the difference between a 9 and a 10? I'm looking at them both side by side right now, and they're both pretty sloppy. It is currently hovering at the low price of $887,500 with about 8 days to go in bidding. So still time for you to get your bid in, Captain.
So it could beat the $2.252 million. Could beat it because of the 9 to 10.
Yep.
Are we
because the autograph was a 9, and this is a 10 autograph. You're correct.
So we have to just try to put this in perspective. A numerical grade of 1 grader, which now clarifies that the card is the best card over the $2.252 million one. What could it actually go for? A real lot more? A little more? What happens if it bombs and doesn't go for? It doesn't break $2 million.
Good point. And I think you and I can both agree that we're in the the school of old thought where we're looking at this, shaking our head, saying, "Get the hell off our lawn." I have no idea what this could go for, Bob.
Exactly.
I had no idea that this championship rookie would go for $2.253 million. I just had no idea. So it's pretty interesting. So
it'll be amazing.
Record. Somebody was an underbidder on that $2.253 million. They missed out, and now and then a month later comes one that's a little bit higher grade. Are there any Beckett 10s on this? Or excuse me, instead of 8.5, is there any Beckett's that are a 10 and a 10? Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, you get a 10 for the card and a 10 for the autograph. That could go for $5 million. Then I don't know. Pick a number out of the sky. And I'm wondering now too. Whoever bought that card, I wonder if they're going to try to buy this one too. That'll be interesting to see, because it's obviously deep pockets are buying it, so they probably have another spare $2-3 million laying around, and then they're going to buy that too. You know, unbelievable. It's pretty. It doesn't make sense, and it does make sense. That's the way. That's all I can say. You know, it makes sense in the respect that somebody, modern day player Brady. The man is probably going to go down as one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback who ever lived. Might as well get his most rare rookie card of all the ones that were printed. You know what I mean? Yep. So, that's the investment they're looking at. Will the market tank? Who knows? I have no idea. But I would say that I would be more comfortable buying that nag in a PSA 9 than I would be the Brady card. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
couldn't agree more.
Truly,
100 of them, and
yep.
I mean, oh my gosh, it's just like I said. Oh well, teach their own way. At the end of the day, we all collect pictures of men in tights on cardboard. I mean, I'm not going to wag my finger at anyone. But here I am going, you and I just rattled off a couple pretty high-end established cards. I mean, Brady's obviously established. He's going down in history as the GOAT. I mean, unless he pulls an O.J. Simpson, then he's the greatest. So, but kind of interesting. Oh well. So I guess we could take some bets next time we have a show. This auction will have ended. Like I said, currently hovering at 887,500. Also, in this same auction is a lowly, contender ticket. Not the championship, but just a regular old run-of-the-mill contender ticket, Bob. It's at 40,000 right now. So if you wanted one of the cheap knockoffs, I mean, nothing beats owning the championship ticket. But I mean, I guess you could, always the bridesmaid. Pick yourself up just a playoff contender rookie ticket, and I'm satisfied with my Tom Brady rookie card that I have in whatever year tops it was, 2000 or 2001. That's about as close as I'm going to get to anything here with that. You know what I mean? So I mean, is that forever? His SP authentic card, numbered to 1250, has been the standard of his rookie card. I mean, right. That's the one that was in the registry, the PSA registry. That's the one that was the big seller. I mean, and in the last year and a half, 2 years, this playoff contender one has come. I mean, there's an unopened wax box in Heritage as well of 2,000 playoff contender. That's hovering around 16,000 right now, with 8 days to go. It's about a $25,000 box. I mean,
wow. That's unbelievable.
Who knows how many championship tickets, and who knows how many just regular old rookie tickets are left out there that haven't been accounted for. But the modern football card era, Bob.
Well, as I say all along, to me it's just a blur, because when 92 hit, there was no way I could keep up with everything. I started losing track of what was actually being produced, when, how, series-wise, so on and so forth. So it became, for a lot of collectors, hit or miss as far as what they bought and what they didn't buy. And that's it. You know what I mean? And a lot of long-time collectors just didn't have the money and didn't have the funds to just keep buying set after set after set. I'd buy 50, 60 sets of cards every year. Totally. It's not logical. That's the problem. All right, we'll check it out in a future show. We'll see how much that card, the two cards and the wax box goes for. Should be fascinating to see. But at this time, our guest is here. I want to introduce him to our show. Our special guest tonight was selected by Visa in 2000 as the San Francisco 49ers' #1 all-time fan, and has been honored with a plaque that now hangs in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He has one of the largest collections of 49ers memorabilia and publications in the country. He's also a senior contributing writer to Gridiron Greats magazine, and he's author of several books on the 49ers. To me, he is and represents the 49ers. I'd like to welcome a good friend of Gridiron Greats magazine and a person who's been on the show before, Mr. Martin Jacobs. Martin, welcome to the show.
How are you, Bob?
I'm good.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
All right. Looking forward to your call.
Good. All right. We're going to lead off.
I'm doing good as well, Martin. Thank you for asking.
Great. Yeah, I've been anxiously waiting to talk to you, get updated on what's going on.
Yes.
Good. All right, Martin, I want to lead off. I know you never get tired of a story. Tell us how you became a fan of the San Francisco 49ers.
Well, more or less, it should be how I became an obsession with the 49ers.
Yeah.
I don't call myself a fan anymore. I've outgrown that. What happened was, how it all started, I was 9 years old, and I didn't know a forward pass from a lateral and didn't know anything about football. My father took me to a 49ers game at Kezar Stadium, and we sat in the end zone. And in the end zone is where the 49ers come out through a tunnel under the stadium onto the stadium, and they're introduced one by one. So as I was sitting in the end zone, I decided to go down to the front row where I could lean over the railing and see the players as they come onto the field. And there were all these young girls standing around and with their arms reached out as the players came out one by one. So when they introduced Hugh McElhenny, he was the only one who wasn't wearing a helmet. And he had long black hair. He's handsome looking, looked like a movie star. And all these girls were going, Hugh, you know, and they're trying to touch him and everything. So they went onto the field, and I didn't think more about it, went back, took my seat, and I was bored as hell at the game. You know, I was watching the pigeons come down and the seagulls taking the hot dog wrappers. I could care less about the game. But my dad, in the third quarter, he gave me his binoculars, and he said, I want you to look at number 39, and that he was a rookie with the team, and this would be his first game playing. Well, this is the truth, Bob. When I looked through this binoculars, and he broke on his first play for a touchdown, I think a 44-yard run to the end zone, but he zigged and he zagged, and he went against the grain, he cut back, and from that very moment on, I was hooked. I came home after we won the game. I came home the following day. I bought the newspapers, cut out the articles, made scrapbooks. I was a Hugh McElhenny fan. And I sort of emulated him all through my life because what I saw him do on the football field, I attributed to my success in the sporting good business because I felt if McElhenny could do it, I could do it. And that's how I got started.
Wow.
Yeah, and of course, I never missed a play that Hugh McElhenny play any game. I went to Kezar every home game. I watched the away games on TV. And then when I became 13, I became a vendor at Kezar Stadium. Yeah. And the main reason I did that wasn't to have a job, is that I wanted to continue to watch the McElhenny play. So in between selling the peanuts, the hot dogs, the sodas, and eventually souvenirs, I would bend down between plays so I'd see if McElhenny carried the ball. And I did that for 13 years. So I continued being a McElhenny fan, collecting everything I could McElhenny. I get to the games early to watch him warm up, but I never met the King. And ironically, in 1954, after a game, I went to the parking lot, and I had to wait till all these young girls finished getting their autographs. And then when I finally got to Hugh, he said, "Not now, kid." And I said, "What?" He says, "Another time." And I was very I was disappointed. So the following season, I finally got to Mac, and I got his autograph, and I said, "Remember me? You told me not now, kid." And so I waited a whole season, and I came out here early to get to. So on top of getting his autograph, he gave me his jersey from 1955, because this is a year later after I got rejected by him. So over the years, I just became a fanatic. And in fact, I just read the Gridiron Greats, where a collector mentioned, don't let collecting interfere with your family. But it did. And my daughter even said to me, I have 5 children, and she says, Dad, the problem with you is your priorities are out of order. She said, you put the 49ers first. And I didn't argue with her. I do. And in fact, I've had 2 divorces. The first divorce said, my first wife said, I love the 49ers more than her. And the second wife said, you loved Hugh McElhaney more than her. And I tried to explain to them that how different it was, but it's the honest to God truth that I was obsessed with Hugh McElhaney. And now we're good friends. It took years and years. I met him at a collector's show, and I told him how I followed him all these years, and we became very good friends, and we talk about once a week. He lives in Henderson, Nevada. So that's the story on McElhaney as far as how I got started as a 49er fan. So that obsession's been, I'm 78 now, and it started when I was 9 years old, so it's almost 70 years.
That's great.
Yeah.
Martin, Joe here. I have always loved the articles you write for Gridiron. You had one probably 6-12 months ago where you were describing walking up and down the aisles, the stairways, and selling, how you would sell quicker than other people. I could almost smell the game just by your description. It was so well written.
Yeah, I'm a big fan, Joe. I love McElhaney, but I do collect all the 49ers. But I stopped collecting. I'd say about I don't mean I don't collect anymore, but I stopped collecting around 1960s, the 40s, the 50s, and 60s, because it seemed when I got into the 70s and close to the 80s, and all of a sudden, when I had my sporting goods stores, actually they were pro team shops selling pro merchandise. Players started charging for autographs, and the prices were going up, and I just didn't. It kind of took away that freedom I once had, getting free autographs, and I got discouraged a little bit. But I've always been a fan. I've been a fan, a dedicated fan. In fact, John York, the owner of the 49ers, said to me, I was once in a suite, and he said, you really amaze me. He says, I've talked to very few people that have been able to do just what they've wanted to do their whole life. And my whole life has revolved around the 49ers. In fact, when the season ends and I have to wait that 6 months for the season to start again, it's the most boring time in my life for me. And I managed to keep busy, doing books and things, but I can't wait for football. I can't wait for the draft tomorrow. I can't wait to get back in the action.
Ditto. Well, like I've always been an admirer, Martin. Just I love your articles, and I just love your passion. Your advertisements and Gridiron Greats for anything 49ers has been a stalwart on that the magazine for as long as I can remember. But you kind of touched on it a minute ago. You kind of stopped collecting, but you have an incredible collection of 49ers items. Can you tell our audience what?
I have some great items. I have again, it's mainly 49ers. I have every program. I have 6 albums of photos I've accumulated, mainly when before Josh Evans passed away from Leland. I bought a collection of original 49er photos, and I have about 7 albums of photos. And that's why when I do these articles for the Gridiron Greats, I have such a library of photos that I can just pull one out. And same when I do these books. And but my favorite items that I have, because I know that was one of the questions, 2 of them are footballs. One is a Christopher Milk football. Now, what those were, during half times at Kezar Stadium, they'd auction off an autographed football. And I was one of the lucky ones to win one back in about 1955 when they had the $1 million backfield. And that football's still in its original box. I have no idea what the value is because I don't collect for the values. I collect because of the love of the passion, of collecting. And then the second ball I have is a one that McElhinney caught a winning touchdown in 1957 that propelled us into the playoffs against the Detroit Lions. In fact, Wyatt Tittle got hurt with about 40 seconds left in the game. They brought in John Brody, a rookie from Stanford who hadn't thrown a pass yet for the 49ers, and he threw a pass to McElhinney in the corner of the end zone. And I have the game ball that I got from McElhinney, and that's one of my treasured items. And
how did you get that from him? If you don't mind me asking,
well, we became friends. And, I've learned one thing through life is to befriend the important people that, know people. In fact, my success that I've had in gaining all my collectibles is not that I actually win them in the auction, is that I know the people putting on the auctions or the collectors, and everything is word of mouth, and that's how I developed over the years, finding things. In fact, I think in the country, of all the auction houses, they know when they get something from the 50s 49ers, I'll get a jingle from them. They'll call me, they'll email me, and that's how I find things. I'm constantly making friends with the fans over social media, Facebook, anywhere I can. But again, my heart is with the 50s, the 49ers, and that's about how it all started and still is. I'm 78. I think my mind is probably back when I was 13, but the body feels like 100. And I got a lot of aches and pains from playing football in high school. And the thing about it is, in high school, I emulated McElhinney, and I think I got benched more than I did start at a game because I always felt if they would call a line plunge and I could do an 88 loop like McElhinney did and run around the end, I said, I'm going to do that. And the coach would always get on my tail for not following the rules. But that's what McElhinney did. He was a kind of a free spirit running back. He just did what he felt he could do, and he took a lot of criticism for that. Yeah.
Well, I think you was able to see. He had a vision for defense, seeing the defense. So he figured in his own mind what he could do against that type of defense. So to me, he read defenses well before players actually read him or understood him. You know what I mean?
Well, he looked downfield. What Mac told me is when he got the ball, he surveyed the defense. He looked downfield. He never was one like to hit the hole, put my head down, and plunge ahead like they do today. He would keep his head up, and he would survey, and he and that's what he did, and that's what made him unusual. What people don't realize about McElhinney is that he had to compete with a backfield made up of Hall of Famers. Joe Perry, the Hall of Fame. John Henry Johnson, Hall of Fame. McElhinney, Hall of Fame. Tittle. So he didn't get the carries like a lot of players get today. So if you're going by statistics with McElhinney, he, even though when he retired he had the third most yardage, 16,000 yards at the time in 1964, but he didn't have as many carries as he could have had if he was the main man in the backfield. So he had to share the load with Hall of Famers. but I still think he's the greatest of all time, and I've compared him to Sayers, John Arnett, all of them. I've seen them all play, but nobody. When McElhinney got the ball, he was strictly on his own. He just went for the open field, and he was amazing, just amazing.
Definitely.
But
now, Martin,
I couldn't do his book. I didn't do his book, though, till I had enough information on him. And though I was close friends with him, he's very quiet and very unassuming. He's so modest. And if I say anything about running the football, he'll laugh and it's no big thing. I just did what I did naturally. I just didn't want to get hit, and I stayed away from the defenders, and as simple as that. So to make the book, I had to have help from his two daughters, Susan and Karen, and a ton of information and stats and things that I had. So it took me many years to make that McElhinney book.
Nice.
Yeah, I just got finished reading it, and I got to say, Martin, it's a great book, and I loved the photos in it, and I knew right away that a lot of those photos were yours from your private collection. So that really added to the book's depth and the historical value of the book. And there were quite a few things I had never knew about him, but I knew you were able to bring them out, especially his college career. I really didn't know that much about his college career. Can you?
I had to do quite a bit of research on that because again, McElhinney he's 92 now and he's the fourth living Hall of Famer, and he doesn't remember a lot. So I had to go through his daughter. I got a lot of help from the University of Washington, but he had letters from 60 colleges to go to, and he chose University of Washington, because you could say under the table they supported him. They paid his rent. They gave his wife, then Peggy, a job. They gave him a car. He had about $30,000 in the bank there. He said that he couldn't afford to go pro because he was making so much money in college. So when he signed with the 49ers, he asked for 30 and they gave him 7. And then he thought, well, I'll go play in the Canadian League. And he said that he settled for the 7 because his wife was pregnant with their first child. And so he says, we better just take the 7. So McElhinney had to take a cut and pay to play pro football.
To play professional.
Yeah, he's a great guy, though. He's very humble. If you ever see his speech on YouTube of his Hall of Fame speech, he can't even get the words out of his mouth. He's just a very humble, gracious person. And but the 49ers were hesitant to draft him because he had a reputation of being a ladies' man and not liking to practice. And McElhinney was a prima donna. He thought he knew he was good, and he acted like it. In fact, when he got to the Niners, he didn't want to block, so the 49ers didn't block for him. And then McElhinney got upset, and then they had a good talking, and then they became close again, where they started blocking for McElhinney. But he had a little attitude there.
Wow.
But anyway, that's how that came about.
How long did it take you to write that book? About a year?
Well, you want to know the truth, at least 50 years, because I started way back when I was a kid, and I couldn't finish it because I needed more information, and I built up enough stuff where I got enough quotes from players, and now they're all gone. Most of those 50 guys have passed away, so. It was a little harder to get the information, so that's why the book took so long. But to me, that's the pinnacle. And I'll tell you something, Bob. I did this to give back to the 49ers and Hugh McElhinney. That was my main purpose of this book, because they brought me so much pleasure through the years. And I thought by doing this book, and McElhinney himself told me that I've extended his life. And he said, you'll make my kids happy. They'll have something to remember me by. And my feeling is if I sold one book or I didn't sell any book, it wouldn't make a difference. I wanted to do this book because It's me. I was giving back to my hero, and I felt real good about it.
No,
incredible.
That's great. That's great.
And I'm glad you enjoyed the book, because I put a lot of effort into it, a lot, and it's selling right now on Amazon, and it's selling on eBay, and I have it in the bookstores. So pretty soon it'll be available to anybody who wants to read about the king, because he is the king.
It's great.
Wow,
it's great.
Yeah, and Bob, do you remember how he got the name the King? That was given to him by Frankie Albert.
That's right. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Tell our audience what how we got it again.
Well, he played in the second game against the Chicago Bears, and George Halas said that he never seen a running back in his whole life of coaching as great as McElhinney. So McElhinney had 3 touchdowns called back. He scored a couple, and he ran a punt back 94 yards in Chicago. And everybody was raving about McElhinney. And when they got in the locker room, Albert tossed him the game ball, and said, "You're now the king of the running back."
Yep.
So that name stuck with McElhinney all these years.
That's great. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Martin, you've name dropped quite a few things here. I mean, you're talking about your story when you were a kid, meeting McElhinney, and the York family. I mean, the books you've written about, Kezar Stadium, and all of the legends of 49ers. You've got to have some stories. I mean, meeting family members, meeting pro players, the owners of the 49ers. Can you tell us, maybe?
Yeah, that's something that I could talk for hours, because I have so many stories. I could do so many different books, But I do love collecting. That's what I do in between the games and everything. I'm always researching. And in fact, I was just listening to the first part of your segment about the collecting of cards, and I tell you, I just feel such an injustice here when I hear the prices that you're both talking about, because I know the interest in the banks aren't very high, and people are investing in cards and things, but I just think it's just crazy, the money, the millions. I just can't comprehend that, because I don't believe it. In fact, I just can't see this keeping up. It just doesn't make sense to me. You're talking millions and for this card, and I collected cards for years, and they made some money or they went up, but my God, what they're getting for the players is ridiculous. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's what Bob and I are talking about. And sometimes I feel a little old, I get off my damn porch, but some of it stuns me. So.
And I really think it's probably 3% of the population, that the people who have the millions of dollars that can spend on these kind of cards, because, I have rookie cards of the guys from the 50s and such, and I think McElhinney's about $1,000 for an 8 or 9 graded card, but the millions for cards, it just. Yeah. They're not 100 years old. These are guys like Tom Brady and Mahomes are playing now. I just think it's not going to last. It just scares the hell out of me, because I got a son who's investing in the cards heavily, and I hope he gets in and gets out, because I just don't see it keeping up. I just don't.
We keep wondering the same thing. So I'm sure our listeners are tired of hearing Bob and I sitting on the front porch, talking about cards. So
yeah, it's scary.
Tell us about some of your cool, fun stories, please.
Yeah. But are there any other questions you have for me? Because I get carried away, and I could just talk for hours about the players and the teams.
I'd ask you about some interesting stories. I mean, you mentioned you were in the skybox with the York family. I mean, how does that happen?
Yeah, I get invited there occasionally. I got there when I was the fan of the year. And it's funny, when Visa called me and said that I won the contest because I submitted an essay, my first words were, it didn't surprise me. I kind of felt I was going to win, because the truth of it is, not only was I a vendor at the stadium, but after I finished vending, I said to my dad, what should I do now? I'm getting a little old to be doing this. He said, well, why don't you open up team shops and sell the stuff? You know where it comes from. And I did that for 35 years. And then when I retired from the sports business, again, I asked my dad, I said, Dad, what now? What should I do? He said, why don't you write books? You know how to write. You did writing in school. So I said, yeah, I'll do books. So I've done 9 books so far, and 4 of them are 49er books. And I could do a couple more.
Yeah. So you were in the York, I mean, just of the books you've written, I mean, just you are the, I mean, when you meet the Yorks, are they like, wow, you know more about the team history than they do. You were schlepping, pops, in the aisles.
That's the thing. One thing that bothers me is that they don't appreciate the old guys. Everything is today. Even the kids today, it's about today and their phones and whatever. But when you start talking about the old players that made the franchise, they kind of lost. They're forgotten.
Yep.
So by me doing this and keep talking about McElhinney and the Kezar and all, at least for 49er fans, I'm making them aware there was these other players. And that really makes me feel good, and I like hearing from the fans, and that's my life. It's my life.
So
Martin,
damn good.
Go ahead.
I want to mention one thing. I did pick up a neat collectible, a Joe Arenas football jersey. Now, what's special about Joe Arenas, who used to run punts back and kickoffs for the 49ers in the 50s, he was in World War II at Iwo Jima. He got shot twice through the back. The second shot, they said, would paralyze him from the neck down. He came out of the war, made it back, got rehealed, and made the 49er team in 1952, and he played till I think about 1959, and he was our punt return and kickoff, and I got it. I finally found his jersey from a relative, but to me that's very special because he was a real at Iwo Jima, and I visited that island once in the Pacific, so I really appreciate that shirt.
Wow. What a picture.
But there's all kinds of other stuff. I mean, I could talk for hours about it, and I know your show is limited in time, but any questions you ever have about the old 49ers, just let me know, and I'll get you an answer.
Now, Martin, did you have a favorite 49ers game you attended over the years, the one that stands out more than anything else?
Well, the one that stands out more than anything else is the most disappointing game that they had, and that was against Detroit in 1957. And the reason that is so disappointing is that we beat Detroit just a few weeks before, and we were leading them 27-3 at halftime, and they printed up tickets at halftime for the championship game against the Cleveland Browns. We were all thinking we're going to the championship, and Detroit came back. And not only did they come back, but Bobby Lane, their quarterback, got hurt. Tobin Rote came in, and we thought, wow, with a backup quarterback, for sure we're going to win. And he threw like 4 touchdowns, and they kicked field goal. They came back and won the game. But that was the one that comes to my mind first, the most disappointing loss. And it stayed with
one of your favorite games? Why is that one of your favorite games then?
It was a favorite game because it was such a high when we thought we were going to the championship, and then all of a sudden it was a loss. So I would say it was the most emotional game. And I would say if you want a game that I really loved that we won was against the Baltimore Colts the same year when McElhinney caught the winning catch. But, of course, I'm limiting myself to the 50s, which we've never won a championship, or the 40s. So it's not like the 80s where we had, 5 Super Bowls in the 80s and 90s. But when you talk about the old 49ers, there wasn't that many great games. There were great players, but we never won a championship.
Yeah. You just mentioned the 80s. I was born in 1970, so I mean, I've been watching football since, I was 7. I think my first football game was the Super Bowl, the Cowboys and the Steelers. So, I mean, I grew up watching the 49ers dominate, and I just became a closeted 49er fan. I mean, by birth, I'm a Seahawk fan, but I always had a special place in my heart for the 49ers of the 80s, the Jerry Rice, the Joe Montanas,
Oh yeah,
Dwight Clark, Craig, et cetera. It's just, just incredible.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask. I mean, when you sit down to write your books, how do you pick your topics? I mean, obviously most of them revolve around the 49ers, but I noticed you wrote one about the San Francisco Seals. How do you pick your topic? And I mean, some easier than others.
Mainly, I pick my topic, which I'm most emotionally connected to. When I worked at the Seals Stadium, when the Seals were here before the New York Giants moved to San Francisco, I had a lot of experiences with the Seals. And even though I'm a 49er fanatic, I'm actually a real sports fanatic. I love basketball, the Warriors. I love the baseball. I watch that. So I watch other sports too, and I have a knowledge of it. So I'll pick, when I do a book, I pick it mainly, it's something I want to do. Like when I was writing, I was a journalist for the 49ers. I wrote a column called The Collector, and it ran from 2000 to 2006. And every issue, home game, I was in the magazine called Pro. Well, I did that because I love to do it. So the way I pick my subjects is something I'm emotionally involved with. And that's what I do. And I'm involved with the 50s mainly because for so many reasons. And that's how I pick my books. If I have to write a book on the 80s and 90s, there's maybe 50 books on the bookshelf. So I write something that people haven't read about, or it's a combination of things, but mainly something I like.
To me, it's very important maintaining the history of the game. So you're right. There are 50 books about the 80s and 90s. The new century, so on and so forth. But there's really not a lot written anymore about the older game. With the exception of Chris Willis writing his books and a few other authors.
Yes.
It's just not a lot
Absolutely.
out there.
Yeah, well, what I'm finding, Bob and Joe, is that those players are dying off every week, and it's not like the information is there, but the fans care about the players today, and it's getting slimmer and slimmer, the market. For writing these things and even collecting it. I'll go maybe 4 months before I'll pick up an item that I need, like a ticket stub. I have all the programs from 1946, and I may be missing like 6 ticket stubs. So it's a small little item, but I try to complete the collection, whether it's Christmas cards or pocket schedules. I try to have one for each year, or something I might not have, but it's getting slimmer now. It's getting a little harder.
Well, Martin, if you're looking for ideas, you could take that white-hot, laser-focused, writing prowess you have and write on another, 70 and 80s football icon, Seahawk great Steve Largent.
Yeah. Oh, Steve Largent. He was a great one. Great player.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're looking for ideas, you might want to beat Chris Willis to that, though. I think he's lining it up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, it was be 49ers in Kezar Stadium. See, I live only about a quarter mile from Kezar Stadium, so it was like my second home.
Oh,
so,
man.
I was able to go there all the time. And I ran track, so I got to run track there. And so it was like, I just know every cranny of Kezar Stadium, and it was a great place to watch a game. No place to park in San Francisco. You had to park in Golden Gate Park when you went to a 49er game. It was crazy. But now everything's different.
That was just like the old Yankee Stadium. There was never any parking there whatsoever. People would just park on the streets, and as the neighborhood got bad, they knew they had to do something because there was absolutely no parking. So they rebuilt the stadium, and then they actually added some parking for a change. And made it more up to date.
Yeah, that's a regret I have, not going to Yankee Stadium. I never got to see a game there.
Yeah. You didn't miss much. That's all I got. That was a rough stadium.
Yeah, I've been to all the
definitely
NFL stadiums. I've been around to see all the stadiums. I used to fly with the players to the games, and but like I said, befriending the players was the best way to do it. You know, one tells the other, and before you know it, I find, like, I just got John Brody's jersey. I knew Sue Brody, his wife. She talked to John, and I got his jersey. So you see, it's just who you know in this market, at least for the collecting.
Yeah.
And that's
the
something
prices,
that really happens today. And you can't be friends with the newer players because they're so protected.
You can't even get to them. Try to get to them.
Right.
You got to pay a fortune for an autograph. You can't even, it's not like the old days. We could run on the field and walk off the field with Paul Hornung or Gale Sayers, and you could bond with the players, and I sure miss that. That's just something. Most of the time I watch games on TV, I just don't go to the stadium. I feel like I'm separated a lot from the game, not like it was before. But you'd have to grow up in that period that we did to understand how it was, which is a different feeling.
Exactly.
Getting a bloody towel, chin strap, all those things. You can't get that now. You can't get anything.
Not at all.
I got about
Mark,
26 chin straps.
Would you have any advice for a beginning collector of football cards or football memorabilia? Well,
again, like all the collectors have said in your issues and on the radio, is that you have to have a passion for what you like. If you don't have that, or you're strictly an investor, it's a different thing. But if you do have the passion for it, then you start. It depends on your finances. It's now what you can afford. And then, of course, if you get lucky and hit a card that's worth quite a bit, but you can start pretty cheap and just build it up. But you got to love the sport. You got to like what you're doing, or it's not going to work. And I think
true.
And I think you can. Anybody could start, but again, I've met a lot of people who don't care about collecting. They don't care about collecting. And then I'll wonder, well, am I born with it? Is it something we're born with, that we have that passion in us to do that, or do you develop that over time? And I think I'm born with it, because I got 5 children, and none of them care to collect antiques or collectibles, baseball cards. They don't care. And I wonder if it's the time or it's something in our genes. But I think we're born with it. I really do.
Good question.
If you have it, if you're interested and you're articulate and you care about, the photos on the cards or what, something has to turn you on. If it doesn't, it's just not going to do it. You can make a lot of money, I guess, if you put your heart into it, but you have to love it. You have to love it.
Very true. Very true. Byron, real quick, tell our audience again how we can get your new book, The King.
Okay, it's on Amazon.com, eBay.com, or they can write me at mjacobs784@AOL.com. And I'm usually put the email address in your Gridiron Greats magazine, which is a great magazine. I keep thinking, Bob, that maybe in time you might want to expand to the next generation. Maybe you do up to, I think, the 60s or 70s, but maybe go into the 80s. You might get more readership coming in because people are fading away. I mean, there's people who like the old timers, but geez, there's just getting to be so few of them. Like my McElhaney books appealing to 70s, 80s, 90s people, ages. But just a thought.
The article on Dub Jones that Dr. Stevenson wrote this past issue was for a longtime subscriber to Gridiron Greats magazine. He had asked me about it, and Jones has a great story too. And not too many people realize that Burt Jones is his son, And that was a great
I
article,
was shocked
too.
to read that. I was surprised.
Preserving his legacy in football at the same time also. But I hear what you're saying, and it will be coming at some point down the road. But for now, I want to preserve the history as much as I can.
Thank God you have your magazine on the market, because there's nothing else like it, and I'd be lost without it. I really look forward to each issue. It's a great magazine.
Good.
Really
and I
good.
appreciate all the work you do for it, too. Martin, we're almost out of time. Thanks for being on. And I highly recommend your book. I'll be reviewing it for the next issue, the summer issue of Gridiron Greats.
I appreciate that, Bob. And nice to meet you, Joe. And
thank you.
Good.
You as well.
And I'm sorry I didn't answer your questions in order, but once you get me going, I just go.
That's all right.
I just keep on going.
That's
okay.
Fine.
Nice talking to you guys.
Great. That's great.
Okay. Bye-bye.
That's great. Bye. Martin Jacobs. Joe, we got about a minute. We're going to go into our 2-minute warning. Handing off to you. What'd you pick up on tonight's show?
The guy's history, Bob. What a great guest. When you told me, you wanted Martin on, I'm like, yes, absolutely. I mean, the guy's just so good. He writes such a good story in Gridiron. I'm always impressed.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've known Martin probably for 15 years now, and he never ceases to amaze me what he comes up with his collection, what he writes about it. And, he is really preserving the history of the game through his writings. And I still feel that's important. I do understand what he's saying to move it forward to in the 70s and 80s and 90s to a certain degree. And it's hard for me to realize that 2000 Brady card is over 20 years old. It just shows to me, man, I got old. That's all I got. All right, we're almost out of time. If you're not a subscriber to Gridiron Greats magazine, what are you waiting for? GridironGreatsMagazine.com. We'll be back with another show. Until then, thanks for listening.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I wanted to thank you for stopping by to listen to another episode here on the Sports History Network. Our podcasters are passionate about uncovering and sharing sports stories from yesteryear. And if you didn't know it already, we have over 30 shows across the network covering all sorts of sports history topics. In fact, here's a glimpse into one of our awesome podcasts here on the network.
Each week, the official Football Learning Academy podcast will take you deep into the history of pro football through interviews with players, coaches, or administrators in the NFL, as well as interviews with Pro Football Hall of Fame selectors, authors, and historians. You'll learn how the game evolved and important moments that shaped the sport into what it is today. And don't miss the Pro Football History Nugget of the Week. Listen to the official Football Learning Academy podcast on the Sports History Network.
How about that? I bet you're super hyped to go listen to that new podcast, right? Well, to learn about this show and all the other podcasts on the network, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com/podcast. Again, that's sportshistorynetwork.com/podcast. Head over there today to find your next favorite sports history podcast.